I've been doing so much shadow work, and my sleeping is so much deeper, and the pains are leaving my body because it's like memories are like lodged in tissue. And when you break them up, the body realigns, and it's like surgery. And then the energy can flow again because it takes a lot of energy to keep memories down, repressed. So shadow work is followed by body realignment. The soma type, the body, is where the memories are, beneath the neck. It's an amazing thing. I feel like I have alacrity now. I feel like all the joints are oiled. Everything is much smoother. I'm much calmer. I feel different. Another thing that happens with shadow work is synchronicity goes way up. All of a sudden, miracles. You're seeing magic coincidences everywhere because things have been unlocked. Your subconscious, all the memories suppressed since birth. I mean, we've had trillions and trillions of impressions since birth. Obviously, you can't remember it all. It goes into the unconscious, the subconscious. As that is released, energy flows like mad. Shadow work. When Jung broke off from his profession, I mean, he had a thriving profession and made a lot of money, wrote books on archetypal psychiatry. One day he had a subconscious conversion with all the stuff started coming up. He stopped all his work, and I think he took a couple years off to just explore the subconscious. It is rich. Not only does synchronicity go up, but suddenly you have an interest in new things and a disinterest in what you've been doing. All your interests change. And you're thinking, why am I watching this on YouTube now? Well, it has something to do with your shadow. I knew a woman who was a binger, bulimic. She just had food binges all the time. Well, she recovered from that. And when she did shadow work, she started watching mukbangs on YouTube. And she thought, well, why am I doing this? I've recovered from all this. You know, I'm not into this anymore. Well, it has to do with her shadow. And then she started watching cooking shows. Well, what happens is the bad parts of the shadow is cast out. But there's another part of that interest that could be a good thing. So we take the good and leave the bad. It's like ordering a drawer. You take everything out of the drawer. You don't just move stuff around. You dump everything out and penuriously put back what you want and reject the rest. That's sort of what happens with consciousness. Shadow work is too much. And you're much gentler with yourself. Like, I was having intrusive thoughts for months, years about the past. It'd bring up anger, and I didn't know what was happening. Well, shadow work was beginning, in spite of me. And I would be so embarrassed or ashamed or something that happened 30 years ago, you know. But then you're gentler with yourself. You realize, well, okay, I know why this was. I had been traumatized by a divorce. With trauma brings demoralization and imploded borders. That brings in lower characters, bad company. And being a triple Pisces, I have very porous boundaries. I take on spirits. They were filled with demons, and history writes the rest. I mean, we fall, we surrender, we collapse into bad situations. You're much kinder with yourself when you're reviewing history now. Shadow work is very important. And do you know that 99% of people never even think of such a thing? Things remain unconscious their entire life. And when they're old, they can hardly move, the joint pain. It's all encrusted in there. Memory is encrustation. Well, now your depth, D-E-P-T-H, your depth, makes ordinary conversation impossible. You see, Because of your depth, small talk drains you. You may be coming at it from a different viewpoint now, though, after doing shadow work. Maybe you're more, well, this is kind of a lark. I'll listen to this. This is how ordinary people act. Well, this is interesting. Being around cowboys or being around lowlifes or whatever, sort of as a psychologist. You look at things differently, but you're still very careful not to be drained because you are a deep person now. You have explored the unconscious. You have done something that very few people do. And now you are deep as the seas. So conserve your energy and build boundaries and be very selective, and you will go far. Now, connections cost you energy. Solitude restores it. In solitude, nothing makes me happier. Connection is fun. Now you're a free person. Now you're unlocked. Now you're unencrustated. Now your energy is flowing. You might like to have connection, but it will still drain you. You go back into solitude, and it's restored. It's just as simple as that. Life will be very fun for you now. Synchronicity will go way, way up. Unlikely coincidences, magic coincidences, Jung called it. And it's very interesting. And you'll go through cycles where the end of a cycle will be the beginning of a new cycle. You'll see life cycles. Life will be a phantasmagoria for you, a cornucopia. Thing is, you're done paying for connection with self-abandonment. You will never abandon yourself again in order to fit in, or to get approval, or to avoid disapproval. That is the old life. That was your immature self, your young, pitiful, weasel self. You will never again give up yourself. Connection will be fun, but you're not going to fragment in order to fit anymore. Synchronicity, magic coincidences are happening beneath the ground. And the whole point is it's signaling something very meaningful happening in your life. Something incredibly profound. Investigate it. As Pribram, a neurophysiologist from Stanford, said, what makes humans human is they can see signs symbolically and symbols significantly. That's what differentiates us from lower animals. Look at the symbolism, what happens. What does this mean? Meaning. We want to search for meaning. This is so meaningful. How this fit here, and how this happened right after that. That's so meaningful. Most people do not investigate the symbolism of things, how they fit together in the universe, how things fit. They never think, this is a magical coincidence. Or if I say to a person, that's a miracle that happened. Look at that, how that was an accident that you turned into a miracle. And it was all God. And they think, what are you talking about? You think too much. It just happened. They don't see it as a magic coincidence. People don't get the fun of life at all. You've come to this point because you survived something that most could never survive intact. It's like somebody being in a bombed out city, being rejected and humiliated, and maybe you lost your whole family, and maybe you lost everything and had to start all over again, and humiliation and public, loss of honor, and so many things can happen in life. Jesus looked out to the multitudes and he felt great compassion for them because of the things that happen in life, the losses, whatever. But you came through, and you, for survival alone, came through intact. and you're better than ever, better than you've ever been, most people would not have survived it. Look at it that way. Pat yourself on the shoulder. It's the final test. Your confrontation with the unconscious, with the collective unconscious, either kills you or you survive it and are now a leader better than ever. It wipes you out totally. It wipes out most people, believe me. Setting them on a drinking spree or suicide or whatever, or it makes you the best that there ever was. Okay, that's the final test. It's a wonderful thing, and you survived. Adversity either bends a man or makes him the best ever. This is what I wrote in my PhD thesis. Most think they're having a breakdown. Something is terribly wrong, but it's a breakthrough. When consciousness evolves beyond previous limitations, shattering glass. Do you know this is where most people go on medication? Psych meds, which are totally dangerous and break you for life. I have a whole section, the previous section, on psych meds. Dr. Death. Go back to those. Most people, when they face what you faced, go on medication. And the evolution stops right there. But I'm asking you to look forward to the future. Even if you have to spend a couple of weeks in bed. Even if you have to cry for a week. I cried for 3 days. The Bible says you may cry for a day, but weeping may last for a day, but in the morning joy. You're weeping your false self. You're weeping for the child within that had to go through that. Maybe who was molested, raped, tortured, kidnapped, had to witness a murder. There's so many things these days. This is not the 50s. Children have to witness terrible things with their animals or whatever. It's locked inside. We bring it up and we cry over what the child inside had to go through. And then it endures for a day or a week, and joy comes in the morning. Okay? You have to debunk to reconstruct. You have to fracture the whole thing to reassemble it into a new matrix. Just persist, have patience, and look forward to the future. Again, from my dissertation, it's not suffering. It's initiation. It's called the withdrawal of psychic energy from external objects. The things we relied on, the things we trusted in, are all gone. We've had a totally new view now. And all that external things we believed in, and now we see it's all bunk. Okay? A realignment. Allow it to happen. It's very scary stuff when your whole world realigns. It's called the ontologically fatal insight that the world you thought was not at all, like a bombed out city. That thing, the ontologically fatal insight, just precedes psychotic shock in children. They go into shock when everything you knew is gone. Persist, start to get into the miracles, keep a journal, and look forward to the future, because it's going to be very rosy. You will now be a leader. You will now be on top of the mass. Again, what I wrote. Small talk becomes unbearable. Shallow relationships feel suffocating. Can't force enthusiasm for things that used to excite you. Yeah. I was into so many things because I go deep into things. And suddenly lost interest. Let that happen. Suddenly things bored me that used to excite me and interest me. And I developed new interest. Let that all happen. Don't force the fit to the past. Let it go, let it go, let it go. Again, it looks like disintegration to those still trapped in unconscious living. It's learning to exist without the psychological crutches which most depend on their entire lives. Look how far beyond the human race you're going to be now. And then you will have mass attractions to the true self, which is now unencumbered by all this concretization, memory in concrete, false notions that were locked in the system. Now this final test is in 3 stages, each stripping away one of your defenses, okay? And what you're left with is nothing but the essential self. Let me read. 1. Withdrawal of projection. Projecting power on external sources, like blaming others for problems. Yeah, we all do that. Giving authority figures control over your self-worth. Oh boy, did I do that. Yeah. If they were older, or if they had power, if they had a role that was so stupid. No more of that. Making others responsible for our happiness or misery. Hey, it's all inside. Looking to romantic partners to complete you. Oh boy, will that ruin your life. Don't look for somebody to complete you. You complete yourself. God completes you. Expecting parents to give approval sought since childhood. We never give up. They're in a rest home. We go and we're trying to get their approval like a 5-year-old. You have to grow up. Maybe give them approval now. And waiting for society or the boss to recognize your value. You recognize your own value. We're withdrawing all these projections of the external world. Now it's an inner world. Now it's the inner journey which will give you value. Do that, withdrawing these external projections, and you take back your real energy. Okay? It's the first taste of real power, taking back the energy you scattered. The problem and power was always inside you. You always could have done it. But we were hooked on the external, and most people are. That's what connectedness is. That's the one value that modern society looks to. How well connected you are. You know, people come and go. They die, they move away, they lose interest. Connectedness is nothingness. The only connection you should have is to this true self, which is going to be a leader of men now, and God, to co-create with God, your maker. Two, the second thing about the final test, you encounter your shadow, which contains everything unacceptable about yourself. Your greatest criticisms of others were projections of disowned qualities which are destructive only when denied. Okay? You denied them, but now let's take a further look at these qualities. You see, maybe there's a pearl in each one. Be sure to do that. No matter what it was, take a further look. How much energy you invested in something, even if it was bad, that in itself said a lot about what is in your unconscious, what's in your talents. Misguided talents, maybe? But take a further look. Now you've made the conscious, you can choose when to express rather than erupting in destructive ways when triggered. Right. You're sort of owned by things if they're unconscious, and you just act out, especially if you're drinking. You just act out crazy. Now you can direct the flow and being on top of it, and no longer be the victim of things that erupt, like autonomisms. Things that just rise up from the unconscious and you think, why did I say that? Why did I do that? That's insane. That's part of the problem with the past coming up and intrusive thoughts. That wasn't me. How could I have said that? That was because it was the shadow coming up and you hadn't investigated it. You hadn't thrown light on it to see the pearl that was you, and it got perverted. It got misguided. Responsible for your shadow rather than acting it out with plausible deniability. Now that you're an adult, now that you've overcome all this, you're responsible. Now it's going to be directed in the right way. Third thing is about the persona, our image to the world, okay? What we've built to fit in. Your persona, your acceptable face, falls away completely. You're acutely aware of how fake everyone sounds, including yourself. People want you to get back to normal. It won't come back, as it was never real. So give up on that fake thing that you were, you had a persona to fit your group. Now that's all just dissolved. And like sands on the beach, the water just sweeps everything away. It never was real. And all your friends say, we want you to return to normal. Can't you be who you were? No, you can't. And if they can't accept it, it's bye-bye. Until you have the right attitude about your past, you have no future. The solution, we learn more from our mistakes than anything else. We learn the most from our losses of dignity in public, our public humiliations. Yes, that teaches us most. But it's not possible with guilt and shame. Okay? Investigate it with an even mind, and no matter how deep you were into a sin, think, man, I had a lot of energy to go that far with that. I invested so much energy in it. That shows how much energy I was born with. Now I'm going to put it somewhere else, okay? You've got to have the right attitude about the past in order to have the future. Isaiah 43, forget the former things. Do not dwell on the past. Learn from it. This is just a brief era of shadow work. And now, bury it in the bottom part of the sea and go on to your wonderful future. God says, after all this, he says, see, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs up. Do you not perceive it? I am making a way in the wilderness, rivers in the desert, miracles forevermore. No more crazy mistakes, no more autonomisms, no more being a victim of groups. Now you lead, now you go forth.